Well, good morning. So we're talking today about balls. We're surrounded literally and figuratively. Our entire life is pretty much one ball idiom, if you think about it. We're either behind the 8 ball, or we keep the ball rolling, or we're on the ball. And if things go wrong, that's the way the ball bounces. Lou Holtz has a take on that particular. He says, any man who complains about the way the ball bounces is probably the man that dropped the ball. But we're talking right now sort of about the whole ball of wax. Another idiom that I did some research on. I'm thinking, where in the world did that come from? It goes clear back to the 17th century. I went through 5 different wordsmiths. They had a little bit different take on it, but they all agreed on one thing, and this I couldn't believe. They all said it's most closely related to the whole shebang. Really, I might do a service on that in a few weeks. But let's talk about literal some balls. As a girl growing up in the 50s, girls didn't play with balls. It was dolls. The only ball I was really, really good at was that little red ball that comes with jacks. And I don't mind telling you, I got very, very good at it. Now, the only ball I was ever concerned about was the ball that Cinderella went to. The little golden book, Cinderella, I read so many times, I still can see every page. Everything that's on every page of that book. I wanted to go to the ball. I wanted to be Cinderella. And for a short time in my life, I actually did have, and this isn't funny, 2 evil stepsisters. Long gone, so we're good. But I really wanted to get to that ball. So imagine my excitement. I was 17 years old. I came home from school, and there was an engraved invitation from the country club in the town where I grew up for me to come out as a debutante ball. As a debutante, I was so excited. I couldn't wait for my mom to get home from work and talk to her about going to get that dress I'd always dreamed of, and maybe some glass slippers. And imagine my disappointment when she told me no. As it turned out, her 2 older sisters had gotten to come out as a debutante, and she had not. And the words of advice I got were, I survived it and you will too. That, my friends, is a curveball, right straight to a girl's heart. Now, I have survived it, and I'll get over it eventually, Mom, I promise. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. So most of our children, the world does revolve around them. Everything revolves, everything is so simple. Oh, the balls come their way, but they're softballs and basketballs and baseballs, and they are running around gleefully, chasing them and catching them, having the time of their lives, and they're adorable. And soon they form these little teams with their friends, and they wear the cute little uniforms that Nancy calls costumes. And they get together, and the pictures, everything about it is priceless. Well, there is a price, my friends. It's the parents. And what goes on, the parents are running around, chasing their tails, running in circles, trying to get from work to the grocery store, to the stove, or to McDonald's drive-thru to get them to practice on time. The confusion and angst that these balls cause can be overwhelming. Now, I was that mother. I was the one that drove all the little darlings around. My 2 darlings are back there today. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I was that mother. At the end of the day, when I had time to put my feet up and relax, I was happy to be that mother. But today, with what's going on, I can't imagine. In fact, even back then, I truly asked my husband if he would buy me a checkered cab. One of those old cabs, you know, with the little flippy up seats. And there's the meter, I could maybe made a few bucks. That never happened, but I can't imagine in today's world of participation trophies where everybody must be out there, it would take a fleet of checkered cabs to keep up with what's going on today. And then the next thing you know, those little ones grow up, and they're in their late teens and early 20s, and suddenly they're not chasing balls anymore. The balls are chasing them. The balls like having to figure out insurance and rent and all these different things they have to come up with. Suddenly they have to put their own balls in orbit. It's time for adult life. So how do we help them? How do we guide them? Well, in my research, I came across this quote from a man. His name is Brian Dyson. At one time, he was the COO of Coca-Cola. Well, I don't know about you, but nothing like an ice cold Coke puts things in perspective for me. So let's take a look at what he had to say. He said, 5 balls in the air. You name them: work, family, health, friends, and spirits. And you will soon understand that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. But the other 4 balls, family, health, friends, and spirit, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, they'll be irrevocably scuffed, marked, nicked, damaged, or even shattered. They will never be the same. You must understand that and strive for balance in your life. Now, it sounds like great advice, and I'm sure it is. We can always get another job. Now, keep in mind that Brian Dyson was the CEO about 25 years ago. He hasn't met our millennials when it comes to getting a job. Maybe not everyone can get a job that easily. My favorite true find a job story is it sort of goes around the idiom, remember, I'm going to take my ball and go home. Well, there was a man named Dick Stack who had a very, very troubled childhood. You can read about it in a book that his son Ed wrote called Here's How We Play the Game. Now, he grew up in Binghamton, New York, after the death of his parents, moved in with his grandmother, who he lovingly called Mamie. And he worked at the local Army-Navy store to help make ends meet for the family. But the only place he could find solace is when he went off fishing by himself. So imagine how excited he was when the manager of the Army-Navy said, do you think maybe we should carry some bait and tackle in here? Well, it was the answer to a young man's dreams. He was so excited, stayed awake late at night, coming up with this comprehensive merchandising plan on what to do. Now, once again, imagine his disappointment when the manager said to him, you'll never make it in merchandising. So he went to Mamie and sat down and told her the story, and she said, take your idea and do it yourself. He said, how am I going to do that? She reached into her cookie jar and pulled out $300 and gave to him. And he opened a tiny bait and tackle shop. It was at 450 and a half on, I forget the name of the street, Colbert Street. Everybody teased him because it wasn't even big enough to have a whole number. But he let that fire drive him. And 10 years later, he opened up a bigger place and brought in a whole line of more sporting goods into his store, and he got the last laugh. Walk into any Dick's sporting goods store today. Every ball in there has a price on it. And to this day at their headquarters in my hometown of Pittsburgh, anytime someone's had 25 years of service, they get a cookie jar with $300 tucked inside. I love that story. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to the balls that we left in the air when we were talking with Byron Dyson. The things like family, friends, health, and faith. So if we just concentrate on those things, everything should be fine, right? Perhaps not, because here's what invariably happens. See, we have those 4 balls up there in the air, and what we constantly do is make these little tiny balls of our own. Things that we lay awake nights worrying about, things that we probably can't do one single thing about. We keep tossing them up there, one after another. Before you know it, those 4 balls up there are entire solar systems of things, a lot of which we've created for ourselves. And so now what? Well, this is that time when they say, God doesn't give you any more than you can handle. And I'll be honest, I've been known to say, God, you do overestimate me. And it's at that same time when they say, God says, nothing's impossible. And I have been known to look up to God and say, if nothing's impossible, please dribble a football for me. He still hasn't gotten back to me on that. So maybe we should go to Scripture for some guidance that's not so sarcastic. What I've chosen today is from Philippians 4:13. And it says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. So now is not the time to give up. So how do we keep those balls in the air? What do we do? Well, perhaps our music director, who's hiding back here behind the piano, perhaps he has some ideas on how we might be able to do that. Andrew Braxton.
Don't get up. We're going to do just a little object lesson in juggling, and kind of, it's something I picked up when I was in the circuit. Well, no, it's something I picked up because I saw my dad do it, and as a kid I thought it was really cool. So he taught me how to do it, and I was doing it all through high school, and then I picked it up again 2 days ago. So hopefully it goes pretty well. But the first thing I learned is how to juggle two with one hand. So it's like, and the thing is, like, as long as you know where it's going to come down, like you're juggling things in life, you can do that. But the moment, like, something invariably starts getting out, you're like, oh, shit, you know, oh no, you know, and then that's what happens. But so that's what you do with two. But then once you get two, then you can add the third, same concept, you know. So you got that going, and you're like, all right, stay center. Get my hand here. So sometimes in life, you're just like, oh, yeah, I got it. You know, I'm doing it. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. All right, and that's it. So I guess the main thing in life, I guess, is just to try as much as possible to do this. And invariably, this is going to happen. But you just pick it up and keep on going. That's it. Oops. Try to get fancy at the end.
And so where else at entry point do we get a juggling lesson? I mean, really. So what is pretty obvious? We all must keep juggling. Because if all those balls crash down, life as we know it is over. So my prayer for us all today is this. Those little balls that we put up there ourselves, what if we could just reach up and grab one of those, stick it in a little jar, screw on the top and say, you can keep your cheese, I'm not falling for this trap anymore, put it over somewhere. Maybe you won't ever have to worry about it again. We do have that option. We do have the option to do just that. And I have a gift of one of these for each of you when you leave today. It's a reminder that there is a way. There is a way. There's certain things we can't control, but a lot of what's going on up there, we've put up in the air ourselves. And now this is what I really pray for all of us. If we're standing shoulder to shoulder, we're all juggling. If I reach up to grab one of those balls that's upsetting me, perhaps I'm going to get one of those from you right beside you, and I'll be able to ease your pain or make you feel a little bit better about what's going on in your life. We have that option. Think about it. Now, I'll be there for you. Will you be there for me? Let's not drop the ball. Let's be there for each other. It's been my pleasure. Amen.